You guys are together for ages and just splits. And to be honest with you guys, something I feel happens a bit is things like marriage, right? And getting cars and licenses and moving on to steps and being like engaged and engagement parties and children and that sort of stuff. I feel like sometimes those sorts of steps, right? Like goals to a happy life. I feel like sometimes those are just like special events along the relationship path that sometimes keep partners involved, and it keeps them in and interested when, you know, the relationship seems like it's getting a little bit boring, something else happens, and then the partner's like, yes, I want to stay in this thing because that seems neat. And sometimes I feel like that's a little sad, because I know some people, you know, they get married, they have kids and whatever, and they now live their lives for their kids, right? And like their kids are the one things that they live for, and like that sounds good on paper and that sounds good as you say it, but then like what are you doing with your life, and you know, how do you want to live? And it's not supposed to be the end of the road just because you've had kids, you know? Like once you've accomplished all the steps in that marriage couple plan, some people just fall apart. They're like, well, there's no next step, I've done it all, now what, divorce? And repeat the cycle, I guess. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but I guess just that's my opinion. And it has been my opinion for quite a while. But it's not to say that good things don't come out of it and that those things don't help relationships, because they can, and you know, it can be a big part of life. But all in all, if the communication isn't good between the two of you, and I don't know, someone has a reason to leave, or has nothing going on, so that feels like it is their reason, then that's kind of sad, and that's kind of just what happens sometimes. And how do you prevent that is the next idea, right? Like, if people might just get bored of me and they want to leave, how do I stop that? That's a difficult one, right? Because there's no real answer. It's like at the start of the relationship, people are really often worried about like trusting people. They're like, oh, I've been hurt in the past, I don't want to trust again, and trusting's hard. But then at the end of the relationship, it's like, how do I keep them from not leaving me? And this could be dumb advice, and the only advice I can think of right now is just, hey, don't stress it so much. If you're loving life, you live in it, then that's all that matters. Don't fully... It's going to sound awful, right? But it's not. I was going to say, don't fully invest in a partner. And what I mean by that, right, don't freak out, isn't like pretend they're not there or something, or like pretend they're just a friend. What I mean by that is, throughout life we always need to put ourselves first, right? Simply because if someone else is drowning, you can't save them if you're also drowning. If you look after yourself and keep yourself in check, then that means that you can maintain yourself, and then when you're feeling good, you can look after others and support them, whether they be family, friends, partners, children, etc. So what I mean by not always putting your partner or whatever first is, if you're the sort of person who constantly puts them first and puts their needs before your own, you're going to fall downhill fast. And if your partner's putting themselves first, right, which is what everyone, I feel like ought to be doing, then, because it's simpler, then they're going to be putting themselves up. They're going to be feeling great all the time. And then on top of that, you're going to be making them feel great. So they're just like up here. Meanwhile, your mood isn't even in the mid, it's like at the bottom. And you might be like, oh, it's not that bad, but it could maybe be better, you know? So, I kind of lost the point of what I was talking about, but don't stress, alright? is the first step to happiness and whatever. If you're always stressing and not focusing on yourself and your happiness, then you're not really going to get anywhere. And what I mean by happiness is like the long-term joy, happiness that we're all searching for, right? Like that sort of like real nice contentedness that lasts a long time. Not like, I'm going to go out gambling and I won $50 tonight sort of happiness. That's not happiness. Like if you think happiness is having a few drinks a few nights a week and that's it, that's not. But if you haven't thought about it and it's going out a few, like say once or twice a week or something for some drinks with some mates, then maybe the good time isn't actually drinking but just hanging out with them, and that is something good. Socializing is really good in community. You never want to be a sort of person, I feel like, who lives with their partner and their partner only, and I mean that's fine alone like that, but you don't want to cut yourself off from your friends and family and everything else either, because if you're solely dependent on your partner and something happens, it's awful. And you can say, oh, nothing's going to happen between me and my partner, we're solid, we're good, like that's great, but you also don't want to forget to like have other friends and socialize and networks and things like that, because maybe something's going to come up that your partner can't deal with, right? Maybe you're going to need like a professional in the area to help you, or just someone with more knowledge. Like say your partner doesn't know much about cars, your car breaks down, and you also don't know much about cars. You're not going to be able to solely rely on your partner. Having friends, not to use them, but to mutually benefit and gain stuff, like to have supports, to have that social network, to have people around you who care about you, right? That's amazing. And I feel like the closer you can be with people, the better, right? You don't want to let yourself all in at once. You don't want to be like, so here's my heart, all my belongings and my bank ID and stuff, right? Like, here, take that. Don't do that. Right? Don't just throw your heart out like that. But if you can have a really close bond with someone, or even many people, that's well worthwhile. And as long as you've got good support and people around you, and you're working on your own mental health, right? Your own goodness, your own contentness, like, that's the main thing. You learn every experience. If you have relationships and they're shitty, and after a while if someone gets bored or something and they want to leave, then at least you've gained a ton from it, hopefully, right? Don't stop doing you. Don't be like, oh, my partner might think that this is bad, so I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to do anything. If you're not doing anything, and then you break up or something, you're just going to regret that time, right? If you're in a relationship and you're doing things, maybe you're still going to break up anyway. You might still just break up anyway. Who knows if the time's going to be longer or shorter, but if the relationship isn't working, it's not working. And generally I think the reason that most relationships don't work is because either trust is broken, or, what was the word I was looking for? Well, because there's just nothing bringing people to a relationship, I guess, right? Like you just fall apart. Either way, you're going to be winning. Firstly, not breaking someone's trust is huge, but you can't always predict what's going to break their trust. Cheating for people normally is a thing that is obviously going to break the trust, right? So maybe avoid that one. And similar things, but also have conversations about them, right? So if you think, oh, my partner, it might break her trust if I went out with one of her friends on Tuesday night and she didn't know about it, then make her alert of that. Be like, hey, me and Karen, Daniel, I don't know, we're talking about going out to get some drinks on Tuesday. Is that all good by you? Are you worried about that at all or anything? Let me know. Because it's something we organise, but still, maybe talk to the partner before we organise and be like, all right, so we're thinking about organising on this date. Is that all good by you? Is anything going to make you feel uncomfortable? If something does, talk about it, right? Don't just not go because your partner doesn't want you to. But also don't go just because your partner doesn't want you to, you know. Work out why it is they're upset, if they're going to be upset. Because if you think it's something that might worry your partner, talk to them about it. Because I think that, say hypothetically your partner is, say I was going to go see my partner was going to see their ex, right? Because they're friends or something. So I could be feeling kind of jealous and strange about that, right? Like, what if they're gonna hook up, or I don't know. If your partner tells you that they're gonna if your partner tells you that they're gonna go see their ex, right? And you feel a bit weird about that, ask why. And if your partner's already telling you that they're seeing their ex, right? They're saying this thing that's gonna worry you because they think it's gonna worry you. That's an amazing sign. That's not a bad thing. Because it's saying that they trust you, right? They trust you to know this information even though it might be a bit strange. And they want to know how you're feeling, right? They're telling you about it to check in with you, not to like make you feel awkward or bad about it. Normally. If any of this makes sense, you know, I don't know if it's clear enough for you guys. Because I don't know how clear it actually sounds. But if your partner doesn't tell you that they're going to see like an ex or something, that's bad, right? I mean, they could just be oblivious about it and be like, oh, you know, it's probably not a concern because we've been friends for ages or something. So people can just forget, and that's fine. You know, that's a little bit hard to distinguish between the other alternative, but it is fine. You just have to be aware that it might happen. Unless it happens all the time. But yeah, if your partner's telling you that they're seeing, if they're doing something that worries you and they're telling you about it and they're wondering how they can help you feel more comfortable with it, that's great because they trust you and they're not breaking your trust. If they didn't tell you, they'd be probably breaking your trust a bit, right? So my advice to all of you out there is, if there's anything that could potentially worry your partner, or just anyone that you have a relationship with, right? They don't have to be a romantic relationship, friends, family, etc. Make sure that you tell them, if you think they're worried about something, confront them on it. Be like, hey, are you worried about seeing your boss on Wednesday? Right? Because I know I'm going to be seeing them later. How are you feeling? And then when they say, yeah, they feel uncomfortable, dive deeper. Be like, don't accuse them. Just be like, okay, so you might be feeling uncomfortable about this. What's the reason behind that? Like, did something happen? The why, when, how, who. Was it something that happened at work? Was it something that you did? Do you feel guilty about something? Try not to sound accusatory, but you guys will probably know your partners better than I will. But yeah, and if you and your partner, whenever you like fight, argue things, it's normal to have fights and arguments with your partner to some degree. Never having fights and arguments, it can happen, but it's not all that common. Because you've got to make sure that you say what's on your mind. And if you can say what's on your mind, that's a good relationship. Right? Especially if you don't feel judged for it and things like that. And if you do feel judged for it, tell your partner that. Be like, I feel judged and I want to know why you're judging me because I feel like all I've done is this. But talking calmly, resolving arguments, using good communication, and diving to the heart of the problem rather than just the external, I'm sad because of this, I don't want you doing this, is what a true progressive relationship is all about. And that sort of thing is only going to deepen your bonds with them. We could be with anyone, right? Like, that's how it seems, right? Anyone could be with anyone. Anyone could leave anyone for anyone else. So why do we stay with our partners? There's a few reasons for it. For some of us, it's because we love them. And that can go into all sorts of depths. But if we've already got these bonds with someone important in our lives, why are we going to leave them for someone else? Alright, and if we're already dedicated enough to be in a relationship with them, and whatever else you guys have going on in your lives, like engagements and marriages and whatever, maybe even just then what's gonna, why wouldn't they want to stay with you, right? Now you could think of a million reasons for that, but there's no facts that any of them are going to specifically be true either. If your partner's with you, good. If any of you guys are ever interested in someone else, and you know that you can't be with two people at once, make a choice, do it, okay? Don't lead your partner on. If there's someone else in your life, break it off, okay? Don't ever cheat on your partner. It's a big thing I will say, because it'll ruin generally every single relationship you could ever have. I don't think that's an understatement. Or an overstatement, whichever one. So, always break off relationships before getting with someone else, right? Even if you break up with your partner and then they accuse you of breaking up with them to be with someone else, in my opinion, that's still a much better way and like much kinder, much more respectful than cheating on them. Alright? And it might suck and it might be awful, but it's still so much better. And if you want to leave your partner for someone else, then there better be like some good reasons behind it, right? Because think of all the things you're leaving. You're leaving the relationship you've known. You're relieving the bonds and trust you've known there. You most likely won't have any connection to your current / ex-partner again. Or at least that's how you should always assume it's going to go. Because you can't expect anyone to want to stay around after that. But some do, but don't expect it. And yeah, I don't know. Do you really want to lose all that? And if you're leaving your partner just for a lay, that's the worst. That's the dumb mistake. That's the big one. That's like, why the hell would you do that? You know? I know we got animal instincts and lust and whatever, and like I get it, but maybe you'd be better off talking your partner into, I don't know. It depends on why you want to do that in the first place. But hey, I'm not here to judge you. Some people are like that. But you know, some partners you're able to talk to. And if you're not able to talk to your partner and you both be kind of okay with things and how they go, then maybe the relationship's not worth being in anyway. If you guys fight all the time, maybe it's time. But anyway, guys, don't stress about relationships. Be yourself, be confident, be happy. Always work towards living your best life, you know? Don't be afraid to do things because other people don't want you to, but do consider the actions that you doing things will have on yourself and others. So, if someone says, don't go see your friend, probably don't take that advice. If someone's saying, hey, you shouldn't jump off that building, well, you know, it's, to a degree, you know, it's kind of your life to do what you want, but you got to think about all the consequences and things that are going to follow. How you gotta go real deep on that one. Sorry, that was a heavy one to give as an example. But yeah, reflection is always good. Make sure you think about yourself and who you want to be. Be the sort of person you want to be, guys. That's what I'm always doing. I'm always trying to do that. And remember that you're here and that's okay. Right? Those two things of what you... It was what I feel like you always want to remember. Be who you want to be. The sort of person you've been proud of. And you are here and that's okay. Alright? You got to say that to yourself sometimes. Just be like, I'm here and that's okay. Because it is okay. 100%. Alright. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I'll see you guys later. Support each other and take care. And I'll catch you somewhere.